No. If you can speak up just a little more.
Yes, I can speak up a little more. Can
Thank
you
you.
in the back hear me? Perfect. We're going to get started. Welcome to the Fort Vancouver Regional Library District Board of Trustees meeting. We are all here in person, almost. Olga will be here shortly, so we're going to have a full board in-house tonight. That's awesome. First up, let's see. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as, oh, I'm sorry. Why do I do that every meeting? I try to skip straight to that. We'll back up and we'll do some public comments. How about that?
You were correct.
Was I?
The agenda.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? I move this to a vote, please.
Marie Coffey,
Aye.
Mary Ann Duncan Cole,
Aye.
Hodges, Christy Morgan,
Aye.
Mary Williams,
Aye.
Irina Kakarina,
Aye.
Megan Dugan.
Aye.
Motion passes. Now we'll move on to public comments. My papers get out of order. That's no good. So as usual, you'll have 2 minutes to speak. We'll take 1 hour to hear comments. No clapping or noise during or between speakers. Please no inappropriate language. Be respectful of one another. You'll stand on this X here today. You notice we don't have a stand microphone. They're just all around us. So speak directly to the board, please, and not to the audience. No playing recordings or videos, and make sure you say your name as you come up before you begin.
Gardner is our online. Catherine?
Oh,
You have,
sorry, it's very hard to hear you. Was that for me?
Yeah.
Awesome. Great, thank you. Good evening. My name is Catherine Gardner, pronoun she, her, and I'm a resident of Vancouver. The past 2 days have been a lot, to put it mildly. So a few helpful reminders as we enter this era. Very few executive orders change policy immediately. They cannot immediately change regulations, and they cannot change the law as established through statutes and the courts. Do not engage in anticipatory obedience. Executive orders on banning federally funded entities from recognizing trans people or disallowing them in spaces are not self-executing or immediately enforceable. They require formal rulemaking at minimum, and in most cases, litigation is not only expected, but is also being prepared. These executive orders are a scare tactic. The goal is to overwhelm, distract, and wear you down. Fear is a weapon of the weak. Do not comply in advance. Do not be intimidated. Stay aware, stay active, stay rested and sane and hydrated, and remember, no executive order, no law, no one will ever take away your identity.
so in person, our first is Quill Onstead. By Tiffany, followed by Randy.
Hi, my name is Cole Onstead, and my pronouns are they, them. I'm here to speak in support of Drag Queen Story Hour as a genderqueer member of the library community. Contrary to any executive orders, transgender individuals have not vanished off the face of the earth. I wore my Protect Trans Kids shirt for a reason. I've been asked a couple of times by older friends why there's a knife on it in addition to a rose. I tell them it's a tool. Knives can be used to slice a loaf of bread, whittle a new toy, make kindling for fire. There's a reason some of the earliest signs of tool usage are cut marks on animal bones. And yes, knives can be used in self-defense. The trans and broader queer community know that if no one else will protect us, we will protect us. But hopefully we will not have to fight alone. You've heard public comments in the past about how libraries have provided sanctuary, comfort, and above all, knowledge to folks who found themselves feeling isolated and alone. The books and programs FVRLibraries provides and choose to highlight will continue to be a beacon in the dark. Drag Queen Story Hour is a vital program that teaches kids about gender identity in an age-appropriate manner. Parents who do not agree with Drag Queen Story Hour do not have to bring their children to any Drag Queen Story Hour programs. Please allow the staff of FVRLibraries to present Drag Queen Story Hour and have the district live up to the ideals espoused in the FVRLibraries Equity Statement. Thank you for your service to the community.
Good afternoon, board. I'm Tiffany Heine. I'm a member of Vancouver, Washington. I'm not here to trash any type of community. Why I'm here tonight is because there's still a chance that the Vancouver Regional Libraries may allow Drag Queen Story Hour back into libraries. Evidence does show that drag queens in libraries is nothing more than grooming children into gender confusion and sexualization. And as far as visiting libraries these days, I wish I could say that I'm excited about it, but I'm not about bringing my children here. To actually take my kids here to the library and simply let them check out their books on their own I cannot let them do that because of the explicit books showing how to have sex and describing how to pleasure themselves is offered to young children and to the young adults. If libraries are going to make these books available to the public, then put them behind the librarian's desk and let the parent check them out for the child. I don't get to tell you what to read to your child. Please do not tell me what I can read to my child, but I will not allow you to dictate what my child's experience at the library should be. The same wonderful library experience I've heard from pro DQ Drag Queen Story Hour testimonies that they got to experience when they were young children, young adults. And believe me, you did not have books like this hanging out on your shelves. You were innocent eyes to probe, and you certainly didn't have Drag Queen Story Hour either. It should be the same experience for my child that you got to experience yourself.
So we have Randy, followed by Emily, followed by Gary. Randy.
Thank you for allowing me to speak to you today. As you are aware,
I'm sorry, make sure you say your name first.
I'm sorry, Randy Schmidt.
Thanks.
Thank you for allowing me to speak to you today. As you are aware, I have requested that you release a policy banning drag queen story hours in the past in all libraries. We have been accused many times of saying this out of fear and ignorance and religious bigotry. That is not the case at all. Yes, I am a man who has religious convictions. And yes, it isn't out of fear and it isn't out of ignorance. The opposite is actually true. When we stand here before you in the past months, we have given you data from studies from WAPOF. We've given you studies from the one from England. We've given you the studies from the one from Sweden that tell you that this is a negative for these people and for the children when you indoctrinate them into this. The data also clearly shows that you have an exponential curve of acceptance of trans identity in the last 6-7 years. And that isn't something that is genetic. That is something that is actually socialization put on the children. And so we pray that you would actually listen and you would actually want to not harm the children, but pass policies that would actually be for the well-being. I agree with the shirt the person is wearing that we should have all youth that have a safety. So children do not dream of coming to Drag Queen Story Hour. It is something that is imposed upon them by outside. We keep hearing that, oh, if you don't want to come, just don't come, but let parents bring their children to these that want to. Well, we shouldn't allow parents to harm their children, even if that's what they want to do. So I would ask that you would please ban the Drag Queen Story Hours and end the sexualization of children and let the children grow up and make a decision after they get to the age of 18, which is what these people have done. Thank you.
Emily,
Hi, my name is Emily. I use she, her pronouns. Thank you, board members, for allowing me to speak here tonight in support of our local libraries remaining a cornerstone of our democracy. I'd like to start with a few clarifications regarding an executive order that was issued yesterday entitled Defending Women from Gender Ideology, Extremism, and Restoring Biological Truth to the Federal Government, because there were several points made in this document that are just factually untrue. 1, under section 2, paragraph E, the document defines male as a person belonging at conception to the sex that produces a small reproductive cell. Given that humans are all sexed as female until 6 to 9 weeks of gestation, with this logic, there are no males. 2, this order lives under the guise of protecting women. There is nothing protective for cis women in this document, only legally stripping trans women of their access to federal documentation. Less rights for some women is less rights for all women. 3, intersex people or people born with either ambiguous genitalia or chromosomal variations on the 23rd pair exist. In fact, they exist at the same proclivity as redheads. This statement, this document makes multiple times that there are only 2 biological sexes is categorically false. 4, section 7 of this document rescinds protections for gender nonconforming children in public schools, protections that are placed to prevent bullying and harassment on the basis of gender. In this section, by voiding these protections, this document is advocating for school children to be harassed, bullied, and discriminated against simply for being who they are. All of this information debunking what this order issues as unbiased facts can be found at your local library. Disproving this executive order is exactly why proponents of said executive order wanting to ban books, to keep us in the dark, uneducated, and fearful of what we don't understand. This is why libraries are and should remain a place for everyone to learn and grow. Thank you.
Next up, we have Gary, will be followed by Jude, and then by Stephanie.
Gary Wilson. Thank you, library board members, for your service. And please continue to err on the side of caution when it comes to protecting our most vulnerable patrons at the library, the children. And thank you for helping to make the library great again.
Hello. My name is Jude. My pronouns are he, him. I was raised in a very conservative religious household by a loving mother and father. I saw thousands of examples of heterosexuality and being cisgender in books that were read to me in TV shows and in movies in the 90s. And yet, I was a queer kid without any representation. It didn't make me less queer. It did make me a lot more lonely and lacking vocabulary to express how I felt. Lacking access to representation was harmful to me as a kid. According to the Libby app, as of 2024, I checked out 70 books from the library. So that's to say that I have a lot to be grateful for when it comes to entertainment, representation, and cost savings. Some of my favorites were The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, Everyone in This Room Will Someday Be Dead, Lessons in Chemistry, The Midnight Library, and Here We Go Again. Books are magical. They teach us to see things from a new perspective. They introduce new ideas. They increase empathy. They challenge us to think critically and question the narrator. They can be an escape, and they for sure reduce stress for me. I'm grateful that we have the library that is for everyone, including queer patrons. Please continue to support diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, including looking at bringing back Drag Queen Story Hour. Additionally, consider adding Nintendo Switch games to the catalog, because I would use that too. Thank you all.
Stephanie?
Hi, I'm Stephanie Sanchez. I'm the co-treasurer of the Friends of the Cascade Park Library here. So just wanted to give you a welcome. I'm sure everyone saw our lovely bookstore outside. That is our main fundraiser, and we use that to help the library pay for teen programs, special programs. We were able to donate to the construction of the other new libraries. You'll hear a lot more from Rachel when she talks about the whole library. But I just am up here to say that we have a very experienced, enthusiastic and involved board in our group. Several of them are here also. And we hope to be able to help with wider district projects and the foundation. We appreciate everyone's help. And we want to stand up for the library as much as we can. So please call on us if you need anything. Thank you.
We still have plenty of time in the hour. If there's anyone online or in person who wants to comment now, let us know. Anyone online? Okay. All right, I'm now closing public comments. Thank you so much. Is there a motion to adopt the consent agenda as presented? Moved.
Seconded. Second.
And any further discussion? I move this to a vote.
Marie Coffey,
Aye.
Mary Ann Duncan Cole,
Aye.
Olga Hodges,
Aye.
Christy Morgan,
Aye.
Mary Williams,
Aye.
Irina Kakarita,
Aye.
Megan Dugan.
Aye. Motion passes. We'll move on to the report section of our meeting. First up is Katrina with the November financial statements.
Good evening.
Checked.
Thank you, Miranda. Statement here is the statement of cash. You will see at the end of November, we are ahead about $1 million from where we started the year. Please note that while this is great, we have substantially received all of our revenues by this point in the year, and we still have a whole month's worth of expenditures, as this is the financial report through November 2024. We are meeting our operating reserve. If you look about middle of the page there, it says we're required to have 60 to 90 days of an operating reserve, and we are currently in compliance with that. To meet the 90-day reserve, we would need to have approximately 7.5 million. And I want to take a minute to note here, this is in large part that we're exceeding that based on the timing of our revenues. We receive the substantial portion of our revenues in April and October. So here at the end of November, we would always hope to be meeting or exceeding that operating reserve. Moving on to the next page, the statement of revenues. Overall, we are in great shape for our revenues. Under property taxes there, I want to point out the majority of our property taxes are at 98 or 99% year-to-date collected. The exception to that is Skamania. I assure you next month that will be up there as well. Based on the timing of our revenues that I just spoke about, Clark County, we always receive in April and October. Klickitat and Cowlitz lag a month behind based on the structure. And Skamania, for some reason, lags 2 months behind. So that's why it's not at the 98, 99% quite yet. All of our other revenues are meeting or exceeding our expectations. We've talked about this a couple of times, but I will reinforce that the one area that looks like it might not be meeting or exceeding expectations is related to the Woodland project and getting reimbursed for project costs. That's substantially related to, we have several of the invoices, and yet we're waiting for vendors to finish compliance with the state, submitting documents like intents and affidavits, so then we can release payment to them and request reimbursement. This number will change a little bit next month, but we won't be at 100% at year end.
Do you do that as a receivable then?
It is a receivable, yes, we'll
Okay.
run it through our accounts receivable. Moving on to statement of expenses. We continue to be under budget for expenses, primarily in our personnel budget, which is expected. For the end of November, we are 11% below trend, and this is known and expected. We've been talking about this for the last several months, having to do with known vacancies that didn't get filled for various reasons throughout the year. Our other operating areas are between 5 and 15% under budget. We expect this gap to close either completely or substantially next month. However, we will still end the year overall under budget. And then I just want to reinforce what I was saying a minute ago with timing of invoices and that having an impact on those woodland revenues. In general, that is the case, and often with services that are facility related and or capital that can hold us up from paying, which also impacts where we are with budget to actual. Any questions on the financial report?
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion to receive and file the November financial statements as presented?
Moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? I move this to a vote, please.
Bree Coffee,
Aye.
Mary Ann Duncan Cole,
Aye.
Hilda Hodges,
Aye.
Christy Morgan,
Aye.
Mary Williams,
Aye.
Irina Kakarina,
Aye.
Megan.
Aye.
Motion to receive and file the November financial statements is adopted. Next report, we'll be hearing from Rachel for the Cascade Park Community Library Branch Report.
Hi. Hello. Just waiting for my slide to appear. So welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here tonight. Okay, thank you.
Oh. Maybe they have to bring it up first.
Okay.
Yeah. There we go.
Perfect. Okay. So, first I'd like to welcome you all and thank you for being here. My name is Rachel Reese and I'm the branch manager for Cascade Park Community Library. I would like to start out, I've been with the district for 13 years, and this is going on 3 years managing this location. The quote I would like to start with tonight is that public library is where place and possibility meet. So that is by Stuart Diebeck, and I want you to kind of think about that as we go through our presentation for this evening. Maybe. Try it. Okay. So these are some of our staff. So the staff are the backbone of our library. They get the books on the shelf. They present our programs. You'll see a few older faces in that middle circle there. That was for a celebration of our operation manager's 30th year. So that was 3 years ago. But people have been around our system and working here for a long time. The Cascade Park Library, the idea got started in the 1980s for one in this area. And then we had a levee lid lift in 93. The first location was built in 96. And then in 2006, it came up for this new location. And in 2009, the building that we're currently in was built. So, oh, these are not, I'm not clicking those, but there they are. So the staff, like I said, are the backbone. So you can see us at the front desk answering questions. You'll see us running kids' book groups, and you'll see us doing, crazy dance moves for our family days. So they really put their heart and soul into it. We have 20 staff here currently. We have one full-time PSA position that's open, which is our public service assistant. We have librarians, we have senior library assistants, we have public service assistants. To the public, they're just the library, right? You can come in and anyone will help you. They serve different roles, but really they are our staff. So our numbers last year, 2024, we had 716,043 items come through our branch. We had 265,166 visitors through the door. New cards, you can see in 2023, we had 4,049, and in 2024, 4,173. So that, I did the math already for you, That's an increase of 124 new accounts. So we like to celebrate that. Not only are more people coming and getting accounts, that means more people are checking out. They're using our resources, and hopefully they're out there in the community, sharing what they do at the library.
Question, when you said come through our branch, that means physically came through?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that is from our door count we
Okay.
collect. So those are the people who actually physically came into the library.
And is any of your by, the,
Like the virtual?
no,
or
the,
Bookmobile?
thank you.
Oh,
No.
no, our location is not served by the bookmobile. Yeah.
There, no bookmobile service in Clark County,
Oh,
only in Skamania and Klickitat.
okay.
Yeah.
You missed a wonderful opportunity.
I know.
They have
They-
more outlets, actual libraries.
Yeah,
in Clark
yeah.
County.
I'm sure that staff would be interested. So I put up 3 goal areas. We started these in 2024 and we're taking them with us into 2025. Programs, again, they play a pivotal role in creating library experiences, getting people here in the branch. Also virtually, we also do programs online, but it's to engage and educate and empower our community members. That's kind of what our programs are about. Partnerships is collaborating, other agencies, other groups. A lot of our programs stem from ideas of partnering, and in going the other way, a lot of times when we're out doing community connections, tabling at an event, signing veterans up for library cards, we're providing access and resources out in the community, and that also can create partnerships and bring people into our branches. So I have it a little bit as a linear, but really they're all interchangeable. So the next slide is a wonderful example of all of those things coming together. This is our trash in show. So in the spring, we do a series of programs under the umbrella of consumption. One of our librarians went to a library conference and came back with this idea and said, hey, can we do like a series of events that are about, helping upcycling, and we'll do programs and we'll do kid programs. I was like, yes, this sounds fantastic. How are we going to make it happen? So I had her write up a proposal. We got several other staff involved, and we actually ended up doing a lot of partnership with the community. So Clark County Food Bank came and they teach a seed to supper. It's a 6-week course showing people how to grow food, how to make food, how to really kind of take it from seed to supper. We did programs with Waste Connections. They came and talked about recycling. We do master gardening programs. This was the second year Trash and Show, and we're already planning the 3rd year. It created so much artistic, just expression, yeah, enthusiasm. They all different ages, they all came. Those were the contestants. I don't know what the right word. They walked the runway, right?
Models.
Models, yeah, thank you. Yeah, those are our models. Up on the upper left, that was the older girl had done it the first year, and her sister didn't want to do it this year unless they walked together.
Wow.
So they came together. It was just really lovely to see such a broad diversity of people, ages, and ideas of how to upcycle essentially garbage and, make a really worthwhile use, clothing, bag, what have you. So that's part of our conscious consumption program. And I love it because it shows how educational and fun and what you can do at the library. And then these will be familiar images for some of you. We have story times, of course. We do read to a dog. We even got, how many people, like 50 some people on a Monday in October to come for spooky science. And that's on the right-hand side. So any of I feel like those are the very common things that people think about often are kids, programs, doing things in the library. Some of the things that we do that are maybe not quite like the trash and show. Maybe not quite as common is a mini horse story time where we had a unicorn theme and it was super fun. And we had to have people stand out in the lobby because there were so many to come in. There's just a lot. We got this idea actually from another branch that was doing it. We're like, hey, we can do that too. So we collaborate. There's things that happen district wide. I want to see if this is yes, okay. So this is New Year's Eve. This is also the second year that we've done it, where parents can bring their kids on New Year's Eve and have a celebration early in the day at noon. And we use reusable balloons and they get to have the countdown and the ball drop. So they do activities, there's refreshments. There were 249 people that showed up this year. So again, yeah, obviously this room doesn't hold that many all at once. So we had folks standing and waiting and we just will cycle through, but that's very common for a lot of our programs here. We have to do them in shifts or have them do multiple presentations. So civics and the environment are also incredibly popular. We do a lot of master gardening programs. The top picture is our one of the Repair Clark County's days that they worked with us. We used to do it regularly, but they lost their grant. So we only did a couple last year. And I don't think we're going to continue doing them. I'm not sure. The lower picture it just boggles my mind. So that was 84 people who showed up for a red worm compost bin class. So they came, they learned about how to compost and make their own, bin full of red worms, and it's very valid. We need this information, and here at the library we can provide that. But there's also cultural and artistic programs that we present. The upper left picture is harpist Nicholas Carter. He's an internationally known harpist, and every month on the last Friday, we have a harp circle that meets here. They're really open to people coming in and listening to them. They try to get kids interested. There's about 11 of them, and they've been coming for years. So the volunteer that runs that program is really, really friendly and outgoing. They've even zoomed in other harpists from Hawaii. Like they're just very passionate about it. So they knew that Nicholas was coming and they asked if we could put together a program to have him do a concert in the library. He's also an author and has worked with children. So we said, yes, could we please have this? And he came and in our family room did a wonderful, really interactive program with the kids and families. Paraguayan harp is not like your normal celestial harp, I guess, that you kind of think of. It's, I would encourage you to look him up. Nicholas Carter, look him up online. It's really fun. We do wreath programs, different family art classes, and the bottom, thank you to our friends who paid to have an actual Bob Ross instructor come and present a Bob Ross painting class.
Ooh,
Wow.
They walked away with beautiful pieces of art. So that's a video of an escape room that we did for the teens. It was Beetlejuice themed. The middle picture is of them technically tie-dyeing t-shirts as one of their teen events. And then the right picture is actually our district bookmark winner, Evan English. So we were super excited that Cascade Park had one of the winners for the bookmark contest. Our teens are really active at our branch. So every other month we have a teen late night that regularly gets around 30 attendees. And we also have a teen council who helps plan the teen programs and what we do at teen night. Libs Martin and Rebecca Trevani also recently, was it the end of November? Just this past year, at the end of this past year, they applied for a grant and we were one of the recipients. So it was a nationwide, it's a big deal that we got it. It is working with the iSchool at the UW and also the Institute of Museum and Library Science to create programming and increase information literacy for teens. So when we have fake websites and AI generated things and deep fakes, all of this stuff, how do you know what's real? How do teens know what's a reputable site anymore? So we're going to be working with other libraries across the nation and with the UW iSchool to help create programs to teach that to kids. So I'm really proud of them. Okay, and then moving right along from our teens into summer at your library, we've had an increase with participation in our summer programs as well. So from 2023 to 2024, we had about a 10% increase. Not huge, but we'll take it. The more kids that we're getting involved, again, just the better. We help decrease the slide and increase reading and literacy over the summer and learning. So we'll keep going. The Friends and the Foundation are huge proponents and contributors to our programs at Summer at Your Library. They help pay for things. They show up. They're actually volunteers in the room sometimes when we have a lot of people and we need an extra set of hands. We couldn't do all the programs and things that we do without them. So thank you to the foundation and our friends for always supporting us. It's exciting. Okay. And then we were featured in the Columbian. We had articles 3 different times last year. Besides our books and our programs, we have a lot of resources that people don't realize we have, like a sewing machine. And we will really soon have a brand new 3D printer. And these are all open to the public. They can be certified and then actually print things or sew. One of the articles was about the line dancing, the sewing, just kind of out of the box things we don't normally think of that's available through the library. Another is our display cabinets. So if you haven't gone to see them, please do so. There's a wonderful artist right now who has wood etching in there. One of the articles was about the My Little Pony collection. So you'll see every month there's a different presentation in the cabinet. And again, it's all from the community. They sign up and we just coordinate it. And then the last one was about our seed library. So that was just in December. And I want to say thank you to Washington Grange 82 for helping us stock the seed library, sort the seeds, get them packaged. And we will be doing that again. Right now it's empty. So if you have seeds, please bring them in. We'll take the donations and we'll get it restocked. And then I just wanted to circle back and reiterate, our partnerships and our community connections drive our programs, and our programs drive our partnerships and our community connections. They're all interchangeable. I have so many examples. We were out, staff were at a tabling event at ThriveCon, and they met the owner of Suburban Succulents, and then they ended up helping give us succulents for a tween program. These things just happen all the time, and this is what we do and why it's important that we do get out of our branches and that we're out in the community. But it's also good that we're bringing our community partners into our library and connecting them with our programs and our staff. So read, return, repeat, going to senior homes, the Boys and Girls Club. I mean, all of the things that we get out and do, it makes a difference in our community, and it makes a difference in what we do and present here in the branch as well. So I just want to circle back and say that the public library is where place and possibility meet. So thank you so much.
I do have a question for you. 3D printers, do they get used a lot? I know 3D prints can take a while. Do they bring their own filament? How does that work?
We provide the filament. So at this location, the district we have an allotment of filament that we use, and the Friends have actually paid for extra filament because ours gets used fairly often.
Yeah.
You're right, prints can take sometimes someone's using it for 4 hours,
Right.
sometimes using it for 30 minutes.
Is it just drop in or?
It is just
Okay.
drop-in right now, but we're thinking of going to more of a registration
Mhm.
process maybe this next year because of that.
Yeah.
It's really difficult if someone comes and they're like, I have a 4-hour print. And it's like, we're closing in an hour, right? And we don't want them to run into that or to also show up and have someone else using it.
Mhm, mhm.
We only have one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
I heard about the seed bank. and I
Yeah.
was sitting there going, wow, that's a change.
Yeah.
And do you feel that it's an appropriate activity for the library group?
I think so. Part of the reason again is our partnerships and what our community is asking for.
Okay.
So it's really driven and we're responding to that need. So we've had multiple people ask for seed libraries. They're like, oh, so and so has it. Are you going to have one? So it took a few years, but we got it up here. Yeah.
And were there any kind of blocks for you in terms of how to store all those kinds?
Yeah.
As a personal gardener, I've faced that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, one of the biggest things is that people will donate seeds that are too old.
Yeah.
That are expired or just aren't going to germinate. And I appreciate that. And we can reuse them in art projects sometimes, but they're not the best for planting. So far, we haven't had anybody bring anything that was, not cleaned or, they're usually, if they're bringing in seeds, they usually are available to just be
Or you would
repackaged.
propose
Yeah.
put some rules in place.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a basic guideline that's up, and then like I said, in our programs, we try to educate them about if you're going to bring seeds in, this is how we need it. And then this year, we're also going to try and plan in August a like a seed swap and also have a class about how to harvest and preserve seeds so that they can bring it back, because that's the whole idea, is for them to just perpetuate and keep the seed library going themselves.
And have you sought some help from the Granges?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we have. So Washington Grange 82 donated and helped us sort and get things ready the first go around. And then they're just waiting for us to have more seeds to help us again this year.
Do you have a garden out here anywhere? Veggie garden?
Not yet.
Okay.
Weeded. I mean, last year we had the kids plant seeds and flowers in the raised, there's like 2 retaining walls in the courtyard. And so I would like this year for us to do maybe more like snapdragons or some easier flowers that we could collect the seeds from.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right. Thank you so much. Next, we'll move on to FVRL organizational report with Alicia and Jennifer.
So I just want to highlight a few other things that are happening around the district and other locations and other programming that's been going on. So Battleground does the Art Chat program, and that usually brings in a lot of folks. And what they do is they learn a new technique from one of the showcased artists that's sharing their own work. So I thought that was a really great program.
And we're on page 35 of the report, if
Thank you.
that's helpful.
It's very helpful.
Of the packet, sorry.
And then we're going to go to La Center, and it was great to hear Rachel talk about Cascade Park and the New Year's Eve party, because there were lots of folks that did that around the district. But La Center, for those of you who have been to that location, they had 80 patrons upstairs in the programming space for that. So the center brought in lots and lots of littles to be able to enjoy their New Year's Eve party. So that was really, really great.
They must have been really little.
Yes, very little, but the music and dancing and a balloon drop and yes, and
Sheriff's office?
they just commented that it exceeded their expectations of how many folks showed up. So that was really, really great to be able to provide that kind of programming. Next, we'll go to Stevenson in North Bonneville. Christmas in the Gorge always includes lots of arts and crafts, community events, and of course, we do have one of our bookmobiles out of Stevenson, our Skamania bookmobile, and they were able to participate in the Starlight Parade. So those are always a lot of fun. So just wanted to mention that. And then Vancouver Mall had an interesting program. I think they've been a few places, but the Vancouver Audubon Society did a presentation on owls, and patrons got to dissect owl pellets. So always interesting. Very fun. And just just a couple more quick highlights. Vancouver Community Library, they did the Imagine Inc. Teen Writing Contest, and that was a district-wide. Three of the winners, their home library is the Vancouver Community Library. So that was really great. And the grand prize winner, he wrote a comic called This Is Me. So it was really good. And then just one more quick highlight on Woodlands, continues to draw in lots of folks and lots of new patrons. So since October, 335 new cards. So averaging over 100 new cards a month. So that's really impressive. So yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And just in the interest of time, the only thing I would add is we are expecting on page 55 of your report, there's a recruitment update from the foundation, and I'm told we are expecting a decision this week. So look for that announcement to come. That's all, unless you have questions.
Any questions? Thank
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
you. Next up is Business Facilities Finance Committee Bibliocommons Introduction with Julian and Brenda.
So Julian Mendez will come up and do the presentation for you, but Brenda Cameron, one of our long-term employees and library systems manager, Brenda's been with us 37 years, knows all the ins and outs of our ILS system and all the things that connect to it, how you find bibliographic data, how we store our patron data, etc. And Julian's going to make it real easy for all of us that are non-technical to understand what we're talking about. No pressure.
No pressure at all. I don't feel it. It's such a pleasure to be with you all this evening, and good to see some of you that I haven't met in person yet. Really looking forward to saying hello when I have a chance. And I'm here to talk about what I refer to as our digital branch, which is the place where all of our patrons, regardless of where they live, are able to access all of our resources and build connection, continue to learn, and to build community with others throughout this great area.
And so what I would just say as a context and preface to this is on 56 of your packet is a staff report that goes into a lot of detail that I hope you've had the opportunity to look at. The presentation is different and hopefully bringing some of this to life in a different way for you. Okay.
Yep, and I'll refer to the kind of the sections as to where I'm talking about. So if you want to look at the specific details in the data, it'll be available to you in the report. But again, this is more of that, how do we bring this resource to life so you have a greater understanding of contextually why there's a value added in this piece and why now. So jumping in, the first part that I'll do is really articulating what is an FVRL or FVRLibraries library branch. So when we think about libraries, we often think about our physical locations, right? We are physically here right now, and that feels like a library. But in today's digital age, library branches have continued to expand, and a virtual presence really serves our community in a meaningful way. And I'll note that in talking closely with Brenda that FVRLibraries has always put the digital branch mindset to our website. So while others are getting up to speed on that, that has always been at the core of how we've seen the resources we provide online. So our physical branches are spaces where patrons can connect with materials, attend programs, and engage with staff. And similarly, they can do that online. And both branches are focused on serving our mission of access, equity, and connection, and building knowledge. And so, as I'll just read, I have it here, for Vancouver Regional Libraries, our mission is to strengthen communities through knowledge, experiences, and creativity. So every branch, whether physical or virtual, is a direct reflection of this mission. And more specifically, how does that get lived out in today? Well, if we look at our numbers from 2024, 1.8 million visits were at the website, which in contrast, 1.37 physical location visits happened in 2024. Our virtual event attendance was at about 5,000 over the full year. And if you look at the average number of event visits at one branch, that was about 5,900. So pretty similar in comparison. We had 603 virtual events, and the average number of events per branch was at about 290. And then our e-content checkouts is at 2.23 million, which if you compare that to physical checkouts alone, that's 1.59. And finally, the virtual customer service, which is references or questions around your accounts, that's at 3,800. So when you think about what does a branch offer, resources, check, events, check, and support are visible both in our physical branches and online.
I think I like to state the obvious because there's a lot of information there. But basically, what you heard is that our website visits are greater than our in-person visits, and our e-content checkouts are greater than our physical checkouts. And all that will point to why we're talking about this digital presence as Julian moves on.
Yeah, and I think the other piece to that I'll add is that more than or equal to, right? It's never less than at this point. There is a lot of usage from our patrons.
Is your digital presence it would be interesting to have little clocks someplace in the entranceway of the various branch libraries going, oh, we've just had 3 million digital contacts this year, or whatever, to give them a presence and let people realize, hey, there's more than this building loaning out books.
Interesting idea, for sure. We can
Absolutely.
think about that.
So within that context, I like to, there's numbers that we can throw, there's data, and they are all in this detailed reports, and you can find them in pages 56 through 58. But I think it's always important to think about not just what do we do or what do we offer, but who are we serving with those resources online? So thinking about for imaginary folks or these groups of people, but they serve as real people within our communities. So one example is a senior citizen in Skamania County who would love to visit the library, but with mobility challenges, he relies on the website to access books and to get audiobooks. And we look at a high schooler in the city of Woodland who has their primary language being Spanish, and she is seeking bilingual books to enhance her language skills. We'll jump to Clark County, where we are right now, to a professional who uses the website between meetings to look for resources and free events to help build her business and engage with her community. And then there are parents in Klickitat County who live miles from the nearest branch, but they still log on to FVRL websites via their phone to help their child find books for school projects and other events. So that's how they're using our website. But there's challenges that come along with that. So that senior citizen is having challenge navigating the website because it's not intuitive. And it makes it really hard to browse or access resources. That professional in Clark County is frustrated by the lack of personalized recommendations. And so they feel like it's harder to find their needs. That high schooler feels that our current translation tools are unclear or inaccurate. And those parents are frustrated, throwing their phone against the wall because of slow loading times that don't allow them to download the resources they need. So when a branch needs help, we take action. Right? Imagine in this branch, there was a plumbing accident, flooding grounds. or broken seats or outdated signs and you couldn't find what you were looking for. Well, FVRL Libraries makes a commitment to fix those things so that our patrons get the experience that they want and they need. Similarly, when a branch needs help, we take action. So our digital branch needs help. It is facing challenges right now, and it is imperative that we address them so that we can continue to better serve our patrons. And just as a reference to where I am in your booklet or your packet, we're at 56, 50 through 58 in terms of the data. So this is the breakdown of some of the pieces, right? As I said earlier, these individuals represent not just a caricature, but a real person, a real group of people in these areas. Thousands of residents in our region across Klickitat, Clark, Skamania, and the city of Woodland live with disabilities. 57% of users say they won't recommend a business with a poorly designed mobile website, which is key for accessibility. And 95.9% of homepages had detectable, and this is WCAG 2.1, which is coded, but what that means is was not aligning with the rules around accessibility that posed difficult challenges for users who had that need. When we look at those parents in the slow loading time, nearly 43% of FVRL library visits come from the mobile phone. In rural and lower income areas, households are more likely to rely on mobile internet connections due to limited access to high-speed broadband. And then 53% of mobile site visits are abandoned if a page takes longer than 3 seconds to load. We are an impatient community and we want our web page to load right now. And they will not be interested in staying on our website. We think about that high schooler. Many of our communities speak a language other than English, and the numbers are in your packets. But one of the things to note is that Google Translate, which is what we currently use, often misses cultural and textual nuances, which means that as you're looking at it, it's not necessarily communicating what you hope it will. And if we're not having that level of engagement from the translation side, we're missing an opportunity. Finally, that professional in Clark County, 71% of customers now expect customized interactions from the companies they engage with, and 76% express frustration when those expectations are left unmet. So I'm going to walk you through some of these pages as we think about navigation and accessibility challenges. Our current website is outdated. It has a navigation menu and a mega menu, and I know I'm using coded language. What are these things? But essentially, when you go to the main site and you look at the top of your page, that is your navigation bar. And when you hover over things, it'll drop down these lists of words. And all of these pieces pose a challenge, and they're distracting. And so then when you try to search for something, first you got to find the search bar. Then you have to remember, are you searching in the catalog or site and FAQ visits? Did you remember to click over? And is that intuitive when you look there? And I would say best practices would say that no, it's not. And why that's important is that poor navigation is like walking into a library with mislabeled sections. So imagine looking for your kids' books and finding yourself in the wrong area. Where are you going to go? So thinking about that, how are we guiding our patrons to what they need? We're missing an opportunity there. So from the web side of the display, this only gets worse. And as I said, 43% of patrons access the website through mobile devices, but our website is not built with a mobile first intention. And what that means is as you look at it, and you can even pull out phones and see when you go home, our different logos stack upon each other weird. The font gets smaller. The navigation bar, which I had to point out because it's hidden amongst the sea of white, becomes really difficult to know how do I get to what I need. And that graphic that we see, which is called a hero image that says help now, it gets really, really tiny. And it's really hard to see the value of that resource when you're looking at your phone. So another piece to this is the navigation from our catalog side. And our current catalog does not have mobile design best practices currently. It means well, and it's trying its best, but there are some struggles, including the link formatting issues, which if you have fat fingers like mine and you're trying to click on a link, but it's all in the same row, you're likely not going to get where you need to go. Additionally, we have all these secret buttons. So the button to hold a book is hidden in a sandwich bar. You have to click on that and figure out where that is. And if that hasn't frustrated you enough, filtering is not user-friendly. So you have to go out, click on a button, say, I want to look for compact discs. Okay, I'm going to look for that. Now I've pressed include, and now I have to reload the screen. And I also want to include the specific thing about music. And then that, and you have to wait for that to load. And then you go back and you go, oops, I clicked children's and I don't want to hear children's compact discs. And I have to go back. And if this explanation has tired you out, imagine what it is like to hold that phone and engage with it in that way.
Do we have staff capable of correcting that, or are we looking at hiring?
This is the
consultants?
whole presentation
Okay.
of what we're
Yeah,
wanting to do.
okay.
Yeah.
But it's a good question, an important one. And I will get to it. So the other piece that I mentioned is translation, right? Currently, while we do have translation via Google Translate, it is not connected to the website and from a design platform method. So you notice kind of this little hump in the blue, right? That jump is because the language that's in Spanish has expanded, and now the design is, I'll say, malfunctioning. It's not as beautiful. It's not as easy to use. And then if you thought about it from a phone, how funky would things be when you try to see it in Spanish? Again, I taught you a word, the hero image does not translate because it's static. And even if everything's translated, the content that's on this page is also static, meaning that if we are translating to someone, hey, access this resource, or go to this event, but also the event's just in English and you won't have support, or this resource is only available in English, so it's not really applicable to you, our translation doesn't matter because we're not meeting their needs based on that communication.
How do people access the translation? Is this where you highlight everything and then backclick Google Translate? Or do we have like the little flags for the different languages on the page and it's a good clear overlay?
So at the very top, and I'm going to try and use this. Yay. Oops. Shouldn't have used it. Made a mistake. Can you help me, Miranda? All right, I won't click it. At the very top of the page, there's like this little translate section, and you click there and you have a drag and option of many choices. So you have to know to look at that section. Thank you, Miranda, for the assist. And then you can choose your language.
I don't think I've ever even noticed it on the phone option. Is it really visible on the phone?
It is not. And Olga, I so appreciate you proving my point. Thank you. But right, it does prove a lot of challenge in that just how do I translate this web page is challenging enough. And even if you did, is it now relevant to me? It's not. There is a good side to this story. I'll get there soon. So the search and personalization functions are also limited in terms of how they show up. And the events calendar only shows details on a specific event. So if you know exactly what you want to do, you go there, you go to story time. And because they're a series, you may find other story times, but you wouldn't know that there's a anime your way class for you that you could participate in, or there's a build it activity that you could go to. Our website does not have that level of personalization or communication about all of the different things that connect our resources together.
Are there paper copies of that?
There are paper copies, but if we think about our patrons who are, should I go to the library? I don't know. Let me check what's available. Never mind, right? So they may not even get to the paper copy. Okay. They may just look at the website and get frustrated and throw their phone at the screen or the wall. So a disconnected library experience. I'm going to go back to the physical world. Imagine stepping into a library where one computer is available to patrons and it's all the way in the back and it's an old MacBook and you can't access, you have to access the catalog and it takes forever. You might even hear the sounds of AOL right, loading up. The events calendar is only available on a flyer and it's tacked to a bulletin board, and who knows what's been on that bulletin board. It's just covered. Stairs are the only way to access the building. No other way to in. That's how you go. And the help desk is in another building entirely. It's not even in the library. So if you paint this picture in your head and you think about how this translates to our website, patrons can still access the resources, sure, but it feels disconnected, it's inefficient, and it's unnecessarily complex. So I hope that I'm painting a really clear picture about the lack of integration and why these are causing some frustrations, because there's hope for us yet. BiblioCommons, here we come to save the day, right? So BiblioCommons is a solution tailored for public libraries. And one thing to really take home with you is that it is a platform exclusively designed for public library usage that brings everything together, the catalog, events, website, personalization, efforts into a seamless system. And they are the only company that does this specifically for public platform and public libraries. And that's not the reason to buy it, right? The reason is, as you see here, BiblioCommons boasts a retention rate of over 90% because they far exceed expectations. They bring things in a really simplified way, and you don't have to buy other 30 different things to make the website work. This is the one path that makes it possible. And this allows for your patrons to discover things. So, as I said, over 200 libraries use BiblioCommons. The results are positive. There are libraries who use BiblioCommons have seen big improvements with up to 57% more checkouts and 9% more visits because it makes finding and borrowing items easier. And that is really the key takeaway. But if you look at pages 59 through 61 in your packet, you'll also see other great highlights there. And I'll reference that we are not alone and we're not having to pave a way forward on our own. There are libraries that have joined it, as I said, 200, but specifically in this region. So King County, Timberland Regional Library, which is very similar to us as a district, has also taken BiblioCommons as a tool. And this connects us to that network. So if we think about how does BiblioCommons help our patrons, for that senior citizen, it means a seamless and intuitive interface that makes it easier for him to find what he needs. For those parents, it ensures faster loading speeds so that they can help their student learn and get the resources they need. That high schooler is now able to engage with content that is not only translated in the language they speak, but is relevant to their needs. And that professional can go to that business class that we offer or the tax help that they need, very timely, and find the resources that will also support them. So I'm going to show some examples of BiblioCommons platforms, and I put this slide up to say that there is room for us to imagine what it looks like in this community and what it needs to be visually. So don't let the examples dissuade or sway you one way, because that will take a process and how we want it to look, but I still think it will impress. So with the navigation of a BiblioCommons website, you are able to see a clean design that offers a really easy way to navigate and define what you need quickly. And this search bar, which with my blind eyes, I know is a little complicated to see, but one of the things that it offers is a really clear navigation feature. You see it, it's the search by, and it tells you what you're searching by. It includes our events. So right at the main page, you can immediately go to the search bar and search that way. And realistically, with everyone using Google and pretty much end of list, a search function on your website is a must-have, and one that works well is critical. Moving forward, and this is page 59 through 61 if you're looking for specifics. The navigation from a mobile platform is much easier. It's cleaner. It uses global icons, so you're not getting messed up by words. And it also moves, again, that hero image. It modifies it so that you can have it drag down the text. So now the image is visible, but the text is also readable. From a phone and catalog setting, the hold button is easy to locate. It's right there, big green. Everything else is kind of neutral. So you know, okay, I want to place a hold on this. But it also gives a little bit more easy access to search for additional resources. So if you're looking for it on Canopy, it's an easy way to find it as compared to ours. And the BiblioCommons user-friendly filtering means that you don't have to load and wait and load and wait. It actually automatically loads for you as you click the things or unclick the things that you don't want.
Oh,
Does that say for later on there too?
Yep.
You can put a hold now, or you could put it on your list for later.
Yep.
I love that.
Nice.
And technically that is on our catalog. It just fits into the category of hard to find.
I've never found that button. Okay.
So we talked about,
why it says for later.
yeah. We talked about translation and thinking about not just how the words matter, but the content does. What a platform that translates for you does is it allows you to modify the content that shows up. So this example is of, on the English page, it shows a winter cheer image. And then when you move to the Spanish page, it shows a different image that's in Spanish. And so it allows you to provide resources that are relevant. It also in the translation will change the book list to be relevant to the individual. So moving from English books to a list of Spanish books as you're navigating the website. The other thing that it offers is a patron-centric personalization approach. And again, that's at the heart of all we do, right? Is how do we serve our patrons better? In this approach, the catalog offers you, if let's say your book isn't available to put on hold, or it is, but it's not, you're not going to get it for a while. Well, there are recommendations that are available to you about, okay, if this book's not available, here are some other ones that you might like to look at. And by the way, we have a blog about taxes if you're curious because you looked at a book about taxes, or there's an event where we're doing tax help and it shows up in that list. And that's true across the different platforms. So if you're looking at events, you might see a resource or a blog post, but it allows you to, again, the integration of all of those resources to fully get a picture of what is the library offering and how does it best connect to who I am. From that patron-centric personalization side, it also shows when you look up an event, what other events are happening in the area or in that specific branch. And I'm willing to travel, sure. What other job and career support is available to me at a different branch or what's online, right? So you can see those options rather than just seeing one thing. This is kind of a fun, exciting one in that patron-centric personalization meets community connection, which means that our community patrons, BiblioCommons users, can rate books and create a community rating. So love this book, hate this book, and I'm going to tell you why, because I'm going to leave a comment, a review as to why this book is the best. Someone in the comment wrote, not my genre, which was good information, I guess. Good to know. And in addition to that, in the more from the community, you can create lists, you can provide summaries, you can offer reviews, you can even rate suitability. So if you're looking at a book and it says this is for reading at grade 3, but you're like, this content is really more for a middle schooler, you could rate that as a community member and say, I think this is for more suitable for an 8th grader. And me as a reader, I can go, oh, I've seen the reviews that you've done and I agree, you know, I tend to have a similar feeling about things, or we completely disagree and I'm going to check that out right now. But it gives me that option to have that level of clarity from the community, giving me that guidance. So now that you've seen some of the great things that BiblioCommons offers, and this is 61 through 63 in your packet, why now, right? Love it, great, sounds good, but is now the right time? I would say that this initiative addresses a critical need. As I mentioned before, the library's website is not just a resource, it's a vital online branch that reaches all of our patrons. The plumbing needs fixing, the lights need some work, the signs need to be updated so that our patrons can use it in a really meaningful way. The cost, And when I think about costs, it's often easy to go, well, what would I spend as an individual and not what I spend as an organization? So with that context, right, the number of how much this would cost for the first year is 2,200, thank you, 38,006, or let me look here, because my tiny on that screen. $238,844.75. And I could have just rounded, but I decided to say the whole number. What's important in that number is to note the next part of this, which is that is just 0.65% of FVRL Libraries 2025 budget, which if you think about the return on investment and how this adds value to our community now, that's a really small price to pay. It's a lot of money for sure, but it's a small price to pay. And the BiblioCommons purchase was anticipated and 300,000 was earmarked. So we're actually under what we earmarked for this. And it was approved in the 2025 budget. So as we've talked about costs, I think the important part of that is what about the value? It's a cost-effective innovation. As I shared, we do have many different tools that meet some of these things, and they don't do it well together. BiblioCommons as a single source provider does it well, and it's the only thing that does it well for public libraries. It keeps us at the core and at the heart of its mission. And in doing an investment in BiblioCommons, we're actually saving approximately $75,000 annually by eliminating the need for redundant products. There's a universal impact. As I keep repeating, right, we're serving all patrons with the website. It's not choosing a county or choosing someone else. We're serving everyone who's a part of the district. We are also ensuring security, which is not something I mentioned, but really good to note that it's offering a reliable, secure, vendor-hosted source or platform. And this minimizes issues with the website, because if BiblioCommons is testing something or perfecting it, it doesn't cause us to have any issues. It's actually happening within their own process. And then it rolls out and updates us for a secure approach to our website.
And maybe just a note there, cybersecurity is so important today. We obviously spend effort in that area, but some people think, well, you're just the library. Would anybody hack the library? Anybody listening that wants to, please don't. But yes, they do. Seattle Public was down for many, many months this past year with a cybersecurity attack. Toronto Public Library, Boston Public Library. So this security, while it's just one little note here, is really also an important piece to keep our services up and running at all the time.
Thank you for that. And so as we leave this on the unnecessary investment, I think we know what the next topic is around the levy and how do we think about that. I would say that the website and an upgrade to our digital branch ensures us, regardless of where the vote goes, because if it's headed in the right, or sorry, let me think neutral. If it is a yes, and that's how the taxpayers show up, then we are ready to build out the website even further and make it more accessible. And if the taxpayers show us that that is not the direction we head in, then that also allows for the digital branch to reach more people as we think about what the implications of that vote are. So, Katrina had said, I love those slides where they show you the X's and the check marks, and brilliant. And so what this shows us here, with that pricing in mind and with that thinking about the value that's added, we do not have any of the things that BiblioCommons platforms really provide us in a meaningful way. It is necessary for today because we serve our patrons in this moment, and it will help us to really secure our future as we celebrate our 75 years and as we think about another 75. So I hope that that helps give clarity as to the need and where we want to be moving towards.
And then just one other quick point before questions. The reason this is in front of the board is that it is a sole source, and best practice would say that the board needs to approve that. It is also a large investment. That's not required to come to you per the current policy, but the sole source piece is. And because of the large investment that we're seeking, I felt like it was important for the board to really understand this, where we're going, if we go, is this the time? And to have that discussion, because I think just as we would build a library, and that would be very visible, this will be a very visible change to our digital presence.
The system obviously is built to add new materials in, take old materials out if the book catches on fire. Where occasionally it could happen. What other flexibility kind of issues are there?
I guess, can you ask it a different way? Like, you mean in the digital side of things, or what is flexible in terms of our digital resources and what we can offer?
I can answer that.
Perfect. There you are, Brenda.
Come to the X, Brenda.
Brenda Cameron, Library Systems Manager. The way the system works is BiblioCommons consists of BiblioCore, which is the catalog side, and the BiblioWeb, and it combines them into one. The electronic material we get, like from Overdrive, we purchase that material with Overdrive on their site. And the BiblioCommons provides a link to our subscriptions and our collection, and our ILS has our database of our physical collection. So what we own in books and videos, games and things in our branches, we maintain that. That's an instant upgrade, or it's instantly loaded into the BiblioCommons catalog.
When you do it in one of the other programs, okay.
Yeah, we do it in other current programs, and this new catalog has a connector that connects those pieces, and it brings them in, and then it packages them and puts them together.
Will there be any challenge getting that to all the different library systems with their electronic sources as they exist?
No, because the ILS company we use, Cersei Dynix, we use their Symphony products. They have hundreds of other Symphony libraries that are BiblioCommons libraries, including Timberland Regional Library, Multnomah County. Multnomah County, in fact, had a different ILS, and they went to Symphony, and they had BiblioCommons across both. So it works with multiple platforms. They're well-versed. We have a connection piece that sits on our Symphony platform, which is also hosted for security, and with Overdrive and our other digital resources. And those are the things that feed that data into the catalog so it can be presented to the public.
The most simplistic way to put this is it takes all of the services and collections we offer and integrates them into a much more user-friendly, discoverable platform.
I have a question about language real quick. The way we currently catalog a book that would be like in my native language, Ukrainian, would be like the phonetics, but in English.
Oh, boy.
Does this offer it in the native language? You know what I'm talking about? Anybody know?
We actually, if you set your browser to do Unicode, we actually do have the natural language in the bibliographic record, provided, of course, that we can find a bibliographic record that provides it. So quite often we have that for a lot of our Cyrillic, our Russian language materials, our Chinese, Japanese, Korean materials. So we had a bit of a problem. We see it quite easily on the staff side, but it took us a while to get those mark fields, so the machine catalog fields, to display correctly in the catalog.
But the user has to adjust the setting. Is that what you're saying? Because like if I wanted to switch over to my Ukrainian keyboard on here and type in bop, bop, bop,
yes,
would I be able to search that with BiblioCommons? Because we're really missing that honestly entirely.
You can.
The current catalog.
The problem with our current catalog is it's like I have to go out and teach people how to do that.
Right.
With BiblioCommons, it should be intuitive.
So it would be in there in BiblioCommons.
It is there in BiblioCommons. In our current
With the native language being typed in, it would search that native language.
Yes, and
that is I'm telling you guys, that is huge.
It does it.
Because the way it's set up now, you have to assume that the people that are typing it in know English and then know the phonetic version of their language. And it is so complex. It's
I-
such a barrier to other language speakers.
Yeah, it is a little bit of a barrier, but if you took something in Chinese that we had and you took the Chinese characters and you just copied and pasted it and dropped it into the search box in the catalog, it would bring up the record.
I love that.
We have that in our data
Mhm.
and we can continue to enhance that in our data, and BiblioCommons will make it easier for people to find because there'll be more tools and help files that are in the languages that people need to read them.
I like that because that folds in a whole lot of other users that
Mhm.
otherwise I mean, as a millennial, I've been in America most of my life. I can really utilize English speaking things. It was hard for me even to find things in a different language. So I'm happy to hear that that's a feature. I had another question. So yeah, 238,000 looks like a big number. Is that just a one-time buy?
So that is the initial investment, which includes implementation fee that would not be ongoing, but the ongoing cost is just under $200,000 a year.
Okay, going forward.
So that's a maintenance.
But then reducing that by the $75,000 savings, so about $125,000 a year.
And then with our budget, I'm wanting to just get this into perspective. Our budget for new materials every year is,
Oh, boy,
Let's say how
3
much-
million. Anybody have that off the top of their head?
Was it,
Budget for new materials?
annually.
so it's 3.4 for and physical?
Yes.
So monthly,
3.4 million.
yes. So monthly, we're spending how much on new materials?
Well, it doesn't,
Roughly. Is it okay to say we're spending at least this much on new
Oh,
materials every month?
more
Okay.
than that.
So if we get this program that will actually help us utilize and and access those materials, get it out to more people, suggest things, and really make use of it, this huge collection. It seems really like a no-brainer.
And even more than that, it brings, of course, any of our programming that relates to topics people are searching, which, so people may not know we have all the programs that we do. So it's not just the materials, but it's combining that as well as if we have blog posts or other things going on that would bring everything together into one place.
Seems like it would engage people much better
Yes.
and really make a lot of show a lot of opportunities for patrons to
For the
do things digitally, but also in person. I see this as actually bringing back a little more of the humanity. It's not separating us. Tech can do that. Tech can separate people from things, but this seems to be bringing things back together. I'm really happy about that. And for what it's worth, I think this would be something that taxpayers would be happy to see right before we're asked to maybe pay more in taxes with the levy and things like that, because this shows that we are considerate of our patrons and that we're wanting to do updates and make things just.
And expanding.
Yeah, it just seems like a really good time, in my opinion.
And just kind of a comment on that, Olga, is just to reinforce that we have to do this at some point.
Yeah.
Our website is broken. We do not have an app. We have to do this at some point, whether we do it today or we do it next year. Really is about how important is our digital presence to offer our public.
Can we go in that direction? Can we talk about, you've done an excellent job of looking at this potential to bring, I like your verbiage of a digital branch. Heard that before. I don't think anybody would disagree that we have a need for this. My concern, the conflict I see is that we're going to do the levy, we're going to decide if we're going to do the ask. And the timing of it is very concerning to me. Can you talk about that?
Well, I think, like I just said, that the fact is that it needs to be done. And I think going back to, I guess a clever slide that Julian included, if something was wrong with our branch, we would fix it. If a hole is in the roof tomorrow, when Rachel comes in here at Cascade Park, Dave, wherever he is going to make sure we get that roof fixed. It's going to cost money. This is our digital presence. This serves our entire district. And as we said, more people visit our website than come into our buildings. And so just like we need to repair our current branches, or last week, our bookmobile from Skamania was in the shop, we have to do those kinds of repairs. This is why we think it's really important now, because we're not offering the best experience for our patrons, and we're losing some of them because of that. I don't like to talk about commercial sites, so I'm not going to name anything, but we are all used to certain sites and how they work. This becomes very much like that experience and makes really discovering all the great resources that we are buying for the community discoverable. And so if we wait, does the world end? No. The world does not end, but we're not really doing the repair and maintenance on our digital branch that we should be. We're delaying that, and it's just delaying the cost. And so that would be my response. Yes, it's possible to wait. I don't know if the website breaks between now and then. I don't know what that even looks like.
Yeah.
What it would be, though, is we would have to spend more money to fix the old site to keep it running versus investing in what we know needs to be done. And I think also from a standpoint of asking for a levy lid lift, which is the next topic on the agenda, that has a lot more to do. We have a $30 million budget. We're talking about an investment in, it's a lot of money to us individually, but not to the district as far as our mission critical systems around serving our public through our digital presence. So I think the timing is now. I will respect whatever the board decides, but I definitely think from the aspect of modernizing our services and ensuring people can discover all that we offer, this makes sense.
I'm just concerned that they're so close. The levy ask, if we decide in August to do that, is so close in proximity to this rollout and this big new shiny thing that we're going to do, that the public is, they're going to think you have not used, you don't need the money because you've just made this huge purchase. I see the timing as a huge conflict, and a
I want to
concern that it's.
One more quick point on the financial piece. Of course, we just saw the November financials tonight. Next month, you'll see December end of year, where we are going to come in under budget around $3 million. And you could say $3 million you saved. Why would you need a levy lid lift? Which we'll explain in the next presentation. But the point is, even in that savings, $3 million, we already paid for this. If you think about it that way, we have, and that's not even with what we budgeted for this year. So there is money to do this. Doing this isn't going to stop or start why we need a levy lid lift. It has nothing to do with it.
Right. I understand that. But the perception that the public has is going to be different. You know, they're not looking at budget sheets. That's generally a lot more complicated than they.
It's all spent complicated. Even this presentation is complicated, right?
Or ask for the levy lift.
I actually see it totally differently.
Yeah,
Completely differently, because I think the majority of people need the library to be more visible, and it currently is hiding. And it's really easy if you are not one of the individuals, like someone like me, who's on their phone all the time. I think I log into the library catalog on the phone more than anything. When that app went down, I noticed. Luckily, I'm a technical person. I do tech all day, every day in my business. And so I knew how to make a shortcut on my home screen. But the average person doesn't know how to do that. And we have to remember that the things that are digital, that are unseen, like the files in your computer, it's really easy to forget them because it's not a physical piece of paper on the desk. And the community is actually seeing the physical branch or the digital branch a lot more than the physical branch. And it will cost more from a technical perspective. As a technologist, it will cost more in the long run if we wait. So we do need to do it.
Yeah, can I chime in on the perception part too? Actually, I think I think it's actually beneficial to put them together because say someone hasn't been a user of the library and then they are, going to be maybe looking into this levy. They're going to maybe log into our website for the first time ever or the first time in years. What they see is going to say something to them. And it could be something like, wow, that's really updated. Or that really needs to be updated. Wow, that's really out of date. They're not doing a great job with the money they have now. Why would I say yes? I mean, it could also go that way.
Yeah, I will say,
know?
so I'm a trustee, yes, but I'm also a patron and we use the app we use all the time. So my husband and I, we both work full time. We homeschool our 2 kids. We volunteer in several different capacities. I am on that app putting together curriculum for my kids. And when the app went down, I was like, oh no. And so
Suicidal.
I actually called and I'm like, is it broken? And no one knew what was going on at the time. So anyway, now it's gone. So I use the web on my phone, but when you type in the search bar, I have to hit like this certain little piece of red that barely sticks down below this pop-up and try to hit the search button. It's so frustrating. So as a patron, I definitely think it needs an upgrade. And as a trustee, I think now is the time because I think it's responsible to take care of our online presence. And I think this is the way to do it. And as you said, it's such the amount of money I'm a thrifter. I love to budget. I love to save money, but it's such a small amount in our overall budget. So,
And we really have to keep up with basic internet trends. Our current website is not for every generation. I have to say that. When my kids start accessing this stuff more often, this is going to be really hard for them to navigate the way it is now, honestly, because things are actually getting simplified now. When you look online, it's not 1,000 things to look at. It's simplified. It's just a few icons, bold, even remotes nowadays, 3 buttons. I was a kid, it was 100. Things are getting simplified and you have to adapt. So as they get complex, you're also simplifying. And so I think I was so thrilled to find out that we have this option because every problem you listed, I could give you probably 5 more.
Yeah.
I have to use it because I live in Clickitat County. I only have mobile service and even that's spotty. Can't tell you how much it wants you want to pull your hair out when something has to reload or you clicked it back and forth. So, people in our community all over the place will heavily benefit from this. The cost is actually already taken care of. I'm excited for it to be more beneficial to me personally. I'm excited for my Ukrainian community, my homeschooling community. I love that there can be a voice for opinions. We have got a lot of wonderful opinions in all of our libraries. People can find that outlet there as well. I love that you can cater it to your needs because quite honestly, I have a hard time navigating what we have now. And
Yeah.
I have had to find things almost by accident sometimes, which is great. But for someone that relies on a floating library collection system, I do hold exclusively pretty much. For people like me, this is huge. So
I'm excited for the recommendations too, because sometimes I need a certain book for the curriculum we're going to do. And there's like 5 people ahead of me on the wait list. So I don't know. I try to search, but it's just not very friendly. Anyway.
yeah, yay.
And I appreciate the money too, but I also have to say thank you for putting in all the metrics and the stats. Just like we're saying, as an individual, we would see that as a lot of money in our personal budget, but as an organization, it's a different type of cost. When we remove ourselves as individuals from the equation, where it's like maybe like in Marie's case, Marie doesn't spend as much time on the internet as an internet person like me.
An employee, and I kept thinking,
But there's like
all of the problems
so many people
that we
online.
have,
Yeah.
our staffs have been excellent at finding workarounds for a lot of these situations. And is that the best? No.
But why should somebody have to work around if we want?
Because our staff is wonderful at doing and figuring out. We figured through COVID, they have an answer for all of this stuff. But yeah,
I put it in the best possible light for a levy lift. We want to look A++.
So I think are there any other questions for Julian while we're on this? Any other questions?
Just an issue that it sounds like maintaining its currency is going to be built into a long-term contract then. Okay. And do you find that level of contract acceptable?
Yeah, it's an annual renewal, so it's not
Are there different levels of that participation or is it one?
We will get all modules and all help with this contract that we would enter into.
Can you end on one note? Tell me what benefit this will have for the staff.
I left that whole section out. And it's in the report, but oh, go ahead.
Jump in because what Marie said, we talked about our wonderful staff doing workarounds. They're not going to have to do those workarounds. So that means they can spend their time adding value to the experience that they're spending with each person and helping what they want. Because sometimes our staff has trouble finding things in our current catalog and we have to spend time training our staff.
Okay.
All of these products should be intuitive. It should be, I started when we had a card catalog. Anybody today should be able to sit down and just use the catalog and find what they want, staff or the public. We went through a period where everybody had to be trained. Nobody should have to be trained anymore. And the other final thing is people can rate the books. So when you're just browsing, looking for a good book to read, you can sort your results by the ratings. That is not something you can do in our current catalog. That's something everybody wants.
And I would just quickly add from the staff side and leading my team of communications and marketing. I think that there is a lot of work that we're doing that takes the time away from what is valuable to our patrons in terms of the promotional pieces. And on top of that, I think it is exciting to know what is possible now, right? So if we move to BiblioCommons, it's not just, oh, that saves us time in this way. It's now I can finally do the things that I wanted to do or we wanted to do for our patrons that was not possible before. And we could have spent eons trying to figure out a strategy to make it happen and it still wouldn't have been as good as. And so I think that bit of the flicker of hope and that joy of what is possible with is to me more exciting than what it will save, although that is helpful too, right? The time we can get back.
Do you see any facility in your system that's going to have trouble with the electronics, the digital connections? Okay.
Any of our libraries, no.
Okay.
Is there a motion to adopt resolution 2025-2 BiblioCommons purchase as presented?
Okay.
Any further discussion?
Thank you, staff. This was a very interesting.
One quick question before Olga returns. You mentioned that there is a few libraries who adopted that already. Do you have any thoughts how it influences on a physical branches?
Brenda, I think you've always been quick to answer that, but I know that there's been a fair amount of studies that show not only does the e-circulation improve, but so does the physical circulation. So people are checking, and I think Olga brought up that point, right? That more people hold a book or find interest in or attend an event because they're able to see that on the website. They're able to engage in a more meaningful way and then are inspired to, right, come in person and check those things out.
And I think the stat that was in there was one library saw, I think, over 50%, was it 50% more checkouts and 9% more in-house attendance, driven by the fact that they implemented BiblioCommons. Now, those results are 57% more checkouts, libraries in general, and 9% more visits. That's pretty significant. And that has a lot to do with, as Brenda was talking about, the accessibility and being able to find what you're looking for.
Are we going to be able to address that growth in use? Are we going to have to increase maybe some purchases as well in terms of digital?
Well, I think, that of course is always the possibility that it drives demand. And at this point, that's something we will have to pay close attention to. We attempt to spend 12% of our budget on library collections, which is a industry best practice. And we are, we've projected for that to go forward. So I think we have the funds we need for that demand. Certainly our physical books and audiobooks, etc. There's lots on the shelf. Just go out in this library, which is one of our very busy libraries, one of the highest checkout rates, and there's still stuff here. So yes,
But they bring it back.
yes, and they do. They bring it back.
All right, I move this to a vote, please.
Free coffee?
Well, I think I'm outnumbered.
It doesn't matter.
Yes or no?
Yes or no?
Aye.
Mary Ann Duncan Cole?
Aye.
The Hodges?
Aye.
Christy Morgan?
Aye.
Mary Williams?
Aye.
Irina Kakarina?
Aye.
Megan Dugan?
Aye.
Motion to approve Resolution 2025 Bibliocommons purchase is adopted.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I know that we will also keep you up to date as that project moves forward. It will take several months to implement. So next month, I'll bring you an update as to what the implementation plan looks like.
Thank you.
So Dan Gottlieb is on the screen. He is our levy attorney joining me for this next discussion on the levy lid lift. Thank you, Dan, for being so patient out there while we worked through this. The first part that we're going to talk to you about is in the staff report on page 66 of your packet. A lot of this is review, but I think it's important. This is obviously a very important topic for the board, probably the most important decision you're going to make this year. The Board of Trustees held a retreat in September of 2024, and the subject of that retreat was discussing our financial projections in the levy lid lift and learning all about what that meant and how it works. And then we had presentations in the board meetings in November and December. And now here we are after several months of thinking about this topic, providing you information and looking at what's needed. Some of those highlights include just remembering that for an intercounty rural library, which we are, the statutory limit of a levy is 50 cents per $1,000 of assessed value. That is the most that we can collect if the voters approve. We are funded primarily through property taxes. Well over 90% of our budget comes from property taxes. Without that, we do not exist. The Washington State Constitution limits the annual rate of property taxes that may be imposed on an individual parcel of property to 1% of its true and fair value. In Washington, property tax increases are not based on increasing value of properties, but rather on the amount of property taxes assessed in the previous year. Each year's levy may be increased by no more than 1% unless the public votes for a levy lid lift. In recent years, FVRL's revenue has increased by an average of 2 to 3%. And so you said, well, I thought it was limited to 1. Well, it's 1% plus new construction. So yes, we've had a lot of growth around the district. So we have had an average increase of 2 to 3% per year in revenue increases. But in the same time, our expenses are growing on average of 4 to 5%. And so what does that mean? It means our expenses for offering the same level of service that we do throughout the district is costing more than the revenue that we're taking in. And that's what got us to this point. And in 2021, Washington passed legislation, which really also allowed local governments to form tax increment financing areas, which we've also talked about a lot in the past year. And those areas, when they form, are able to capture growth within the boundaries of the tax increment finance areas. And that growth is the growth that we would normally get, but instead it goes to the TIF area. And that can be up to 25 years. With the current TIFs that are in place, we're estimating an impact of about $10.8 million to be captured through those areas and that growth over the next 25 years. All levy lid lifts require a simple majority to pass, so 50% plus one. With a permanent single-year lid lift, the levy lid lift bumps up to its new rate. So if we went up to 50 cents, the statutory limit, it would go up to 50 cents the following year, and then it would begin to revert to that 1% cap each year, which will reduce the rate over time, just like we've seen. So the way we got here is really the methodology of how the law works. That limit is set in a way that the local jurisdiction, in this case, the library, needs to go back to the voter on a regular basis to ask for a lid lift in order to sustain services. If you don't want to sustain services, that's a different issue. But we do. We believe that the library is critical. It's a critical resource in our community, and so we want it to continue to provide an excellent level of service for our community. The last time the FVRL asked for a levy lid lift was on August 17th of 2010. And at the time, our rate levy rate had fallen to 38 cents per thousand, and the board voted to ask the voters for 50 cents, and that is indeed what was approved. Today, we're at 0.2686 cents per thousand, so even lower than we were 15 years ago. And we've been good stewards of the public trust as far as how we have used the money over these 15 years. But we are at the point that we do have to consider this request. And that is because on the bottom of page 67, we highlight for you, if we continued with this current levy rate into 2026, we would operate at a net loss of $7.7 million. So in order to sustain services, we would have to dip into our fund balance to sustain the same level of service, which is not sustainable over the long run. So as early as 2026, we would need to begin scaling back in order to balance our budget and plan for the future. If you pass this resolution, we would be creating a plan for you that spells out what would happen if it fails and what would happen if it passes, so that we can communicate publicly of what those impacts across the district will be. If we pass the 50 cents per capita, obviously, we would have a net income in the first year of $17 million, and that is basically the same level of service, as I said. And we believe that this levy, based on projections, would last about 12 years. And that's important as well, because it cost us money to be on the ballot. And we are estimating the cost for being on the ballot in all 4 counties that we serve of $280,000 to $500,000. And so we want to be successful if we do ask. We also further with the financial estimates see that on the page 68 at the top of the projections that in 2026, our ending cash balance would be at $2.1 million. And earlier today, if I remember what Katrina said, we need just over $7 million to meet our 60 to 90 day operating fund balance. And that is so that we can pay our bills on time, because we only get paid twice a year. So that's why that ending cash is way too low for what we need to sustain. And you see it quickly goes up in 27 and further. And those amounts are what we're going to have to cut to balance our budget. So they're very significant cuts as the years move forward. Similarly, under the 50 cent per $1,000 collections, and keeping the same level of service, what you see are larger ending cash balances that grow early on. What you're not seeing is what I said, that it will last about 12 years. And so as the years go forward, you begin to draw down on that. That is the methodology and design of this, that you collect more, you will draw from that, you will make sure you have a financial plan that understands how that works, and that you'll get to a point where, again, you have to go out and ask for a lid lift, not because you're overspending, but because the cost of providing the same level of service goes up faster than what the limitation on the tax increase is. That's the design. That's what all Washingtonians voted on. Then the August 5th primary date is what we've been talking about, because that allows us to then plan our 2026 budget, understanding if it passes or it does not, what we need to prepare for January 1st. So based on all the discussions that we've had, I have a recommendation to ask the board to pass the resolution in the packet, which we're going to talk about in a minute, and to lift fully up to the statutory limit of 50 cents per $1,000 of assessed value. And this is based on all the discussions we've had, what you've had to say, etc. And now I'd like Dan to talk about the legal basis of getting the levy on the ballot, should you vote on it, and also the components of the resolution. Dan?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. Well, it's good to be back in front of the Port Vancouver Library Board. I haven't been here before you for a couple years. I spoke at your board retreat in early 2023. I also helped the district probably before anyone's time with the levy lid lift in 2010. So Jennifer asked for our assistance in preparing Resolution 2025-01, which would put the lid lift proposition on the ballot. The resolution itself is relatively simple. The requirement of the law is that the board pass a resolution and ask in that resolution to ask the auditors of the various counties in which you exist to put on the ballot the proposition of restoring your property tax levy to the statutory maximum 50 cents per thousand. It needs to be delivered if it's approved, it needs to be delivered to those county auditors by May 2nd, if you want to be on the ballot at the August 5 primary. The resolution you have does a little bit more than the law requires, in that it states the case for why you need it. So the 6 or 7 whereas clauses at the beginning are really your statements of fact as to why you will need to have your levy lid lifted, so that you can continue to operate the way you've been operating. This data will support what you're doing to your public, and can serve as informational informational information to give to the public in conjunction with this proposition on into the future. So the resolution it makes a finding in section 1 that you'll need to restore that property tax levy for the reasons described above. In section 2, it makes the request to the auditors of Clark, Skamania, Klickitat, and Cowlitz counties to call and conduct a special election on August 5. It sets forth a proposed ballot proposition. This is what you would like this to say if you had your choice. State law actually delegates that authority to the county prosecutor of the biggest county in which you exist. I'm not very clear myself as to whether that's, I think Klickitat County has more area, but clearly Clark County has more people. I guess the prosecutors sort that out among themselves. The section 3 then sets forth your finding that you want to have information provided in the local voters pamphlet. As it turns out, those are actually required. So when you submit this to the county auditors, you are also required to submit an explanatory statement, which would be prepared by us as your lawyer. That's a requirement of law. Also a cover sheet that the auditors require, and lists of the pro and con committee members that might prepare the pro and con statements you typically see in those voters pamphlets. So section 3 says that you'll share in the costs of those. As Jennifer mentioned, you will be required to share in the costs of the election. Those are apportioned among the various jurisdictions that participate in the election, and I'm not enough of a mathematician to figure out how they do that with 4 different counties. But I believe it's based on population within the county, within the jurisdictions of the counties of that are submitting propositions in those various counties. So there might be, say, 5 jurisdictions on the primary ballot in Clark County and only 1 in Klickitat County. And so there's an apportionment that goes on in that way. Section 4 is what we call a survival clause. Basically, if any portion of this resolution is declared unenforceable, the rest of it remains. And section 5 is a direction to the executive director to deliver a copy to the various auditors, certified copy by May 2nd of this year. I mentioned that one of the things that I'm required to do by law is to prepare the explanatory statement. Should you adopt this, we will prepare that and share it with your staff for review before we submit it. And then it will be submitted along with the rest of the packet that goes to the county auditors. So that's the process. What Jennifer didn't say but is important is that lid lift propositions only require a simple majority. So, you know, 1 over a majority is a simple majority, and that makes it an easier proposition than, say, a bond measure, which requires a 60% majority and 40% validation. This is 50% plus 1 person voting in the election will pass this. I was in my past a trustee for the Kitsap Library. And I can tell you from our experience, when I joined that board, it had failed 2 levy lid lift resolutions prior to my joining the board. And was going through exactly the process that Jennifer explained about cutting the budget to try and meet the resources that were available, that were shrinking from year to year. We worked very hard to stay within those boundaries, ultimately put another lid lift measure on the ballot after working hard to develop the community support for it. And it passed. And she's right. You know, it's part of the planning that you have to go through to keep your library operating at the level that is appropriate. Jennifer had also asked me to speak to some of the restrictions and permissions under state law in terms of what you can do. Should you adopt this resolution and put this on the ballot? There are laws that apply to how you can or cannot, as a district and as an individuals, support the proposition in your community. And the basic rule is that no district resources can be used to support the proposition at all. The district is permitted to prepare a single fact sheet if that's something that it would normally do. And I believe that's the case. That can be distributed to all citizens within the district. But you can't use any district resources to say, vote for this or not. I mean, obviously you wouldn't say not. But as individuals, not in your board positions, you are permitted to speak your mind, and I hope you all support the idea if you adopt this, and make sure that you as an individual tell all your friends. As a board member, you can't say, I'm a member of the Board of Trustees and I urge you to vote this. You can say, I'm your friend, I urge you to vote this, or I'm your neighbor, or so that's important. And of course, you can't use any district equipment, rooms. You can't have, rallies in your buildings. Is someone trying to speak up? I'm sorry.
I think just coughing, sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay. Let's see, is there anything else that, well, do any of you have any questions about either the resolution or the process?
Just trying to figure out how to obey the law. And I'm from a small county. Everybody knows I'm on the school board, on the library board.
There's nothing wrong with them knowing you're on the board, but you can't use that. You can't use your position to support the measure once you adopt it. Curiously, of course, before you adopt a resolution, you could say whatever you want. But once you put it on the ballot, you're prohibited from using your position to support it. So you can't be wearing your trustee name tag and telling people, vote for this measure. You can tell your friends at, dinner and at the grocery store and anyone else, this is a great idea. You should vote for it, but you can't do it in the role as trustee.
You can give people factual information.
As trustee, that's correct.
Yes, and we will be providing, so the one sheet that Dan talks about, it might be a really long sheet. One piece of information that's going to have a lot of information that we will be building over the next couple months if you vote on this tonight. You will not have it tomorrow. because we have to build out the plans, which we will do. And if you remember back to last month's meeting, the timeline for that is to have you vote on those plans at the April meeting. And so at
Time to breathe.
Yes, so at the April meeting, we would then be in a position for you to vote on what would happen if it passes, what would happen if it fails. And that's what goes into the information piece that you can take with you everywhere you go and talk about information. You just cannot tell people how to vote. Is that factually accurate, Dan?
Yes, that's factually accurate.
Yeah, and just to make it really simple, you can always say, I'm saying this as your friend or as your neighbor or as your family member, not as a board member. You can just be clear if you're always, if you're having, or, if there's someone that might post some media, you want to be careful. Just say, I'm not saying this as a board member, but as a supporter of the library. So then we don't have to be too concerned about any legal repercussions. Just be clear. Yeah.
Now, if the communities that we all serve and they're doing election kind of information, can we attend one of those and actually participate in election information? Or would that be on
If you're
thin
just
ice?
providing factual information, yes. So, and we will be doing that.
Okay.
But again, not until we get past April.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we can always defer to you for more questions or representation.
Please do. Please do.
All right.
Is there anything else that you have questions about or need more information about?
I'm just curious. It's a very funny structure for a tax. And it's, just sort of sentence to being revisited on a pretty
Mhm.
regular basis, as long as there's inflation.
Mhm.
It's
Well,
because of it.
so actually there's some history here. It used to be 106%. And Tim Hyman, you may remember him.
Unfortunately.
Put a put a proposition on the ballot to bring it down to the 101. And that passed, but was declared unconstitutional in the form that it was in. The legislature then reinstated the limit in a constitutional way in 2007. So we're stuck with that 1%. Technically, it's the lesser of 1% or the rate of inflation. So the rate of inflation has lately always been over 1%. That's what the 1% is. If for whatever reason, the rate of inflation came down below 1%, it would actually go down to the rate of inflation. But you guys get hurt perhaps more than anyone in that libraries have no other meaningful source of funding. Other types of taxing districts, think about cities and counties, they have fees, they have sort of revenue generating things that they operate. All you get is property taxes. And so you're right, it's a screwy way to set it up, but it's at least you have the opportunity to ask for the lid lift. Because if you didn't have that, basically there wouldn't be any operating libraries in this state.
Any other questions? Is there a motion to adopt Resolution 2015-1 levy lid lift as presented?
So moved. Seconded.
Any further discussion? I move this to a vote.
Marie Coffey,
Aye.
Mary Ann Duncan Cole,
Aye.
the Hodges,
Aye.
Christy Morgan,
Aye.
Mary Williams,
Aye.
Irina Kakarina,
Aye.
Megan Dugan.
Aye.
Motion to approve Resolution 2015-1, levy lid lift is adopted.
Can I ask for a clarification? I believe it's 2025-02.
Say that again.
The resolution number is 2025-02.
No, it's 01.
01 was what you passed for the,
That was they were flipped.
They were flipped.
they were flipped. Okay. But it's not 2015. Okay, good.
Be going back and past.
Well, thank you, Dan. Appreciate your assistance and thank you to the board. Obviously, this sets us on a path forward and with a lot of good work to do ahead of us. And so we will continue to keep you updated as we move forward. As Dan says, he has some work to do now. And we also will be looking for people to fill our pro and con committees, and we need people in each of the counties that we will have to submit. So it's not just in Clark, or it's not just one committee for everyone, because you have to live in the county in which you're on a pro or con committee. So we will be looking for pro and con people. I think it's going to be like with any district, it's sometimes easier to find the pro people. But what we will have to do is put some ads out in the paper and other ways, looking for people who are interested to serve in those capacities, and get that listing together in order to meet the May 2nd filing date. If we fail to identify people after searching, the counties will help us to fill out those committees.
If they can. On
They
occasion- On occasion, they can't find anyone to do it.
Right.
Have
So you-
we, does the county know that we are considering a levy lift?
They will now.
Okay.
It's probably not a surprise.
Yeah. Right. Right. All right.
Next up
I'll
is
sign
policy.
them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. You vote here?
No. No, unfortunately
All
not.
right, we're going to move on to policy and nominating committee, library privileges policy, first reading.
So this is a first reading. Annually, we set our non-resident borrowers fee. And as we were looking at this policy this year, getting ready to propose the annual fee to you, we remembered the conversations that we had last year with the board when we set the rate. It hadn't been done in several years, and so it brought about a lot of conversation last year. And so this is proposing actually a change to how we calculate the fee. And it really is trying to bring more equity in how much is paid by non-residents to bring it more in line with what the average taxpayer within our district pays for library service. Currently, the fee is much lower for a non-resident. And that, from a standpoint of fairness to our district residents who really pay and vote to have the services they have, does not seem appropriate, especially as we're heading into a levy lid lift. So this is for you to consider this month. Next month, what we will bring you is what the amount would be, because we'll both have you looking at voting on this policy next month, but also having you vote on then the fee, making some assumptions that we would move forward in this way. But I will also have what the fee would be if we kept the current methodology, so that you can see the difference.
Question.
Yes.
What kind of non-residents are using our library system? I'm curious that, because the
So
ones that I
think
can
about the city of Woodland, where we just opened a brand new library,
Okay.
and it's in Cowlitz County. Cowlitz County doesn't,
Gotcha.
so many of the people coming in, getting new library cards, are paying non-resident fees. So I can have more statistics next month of how many non-resident cards we have and even where the majority come from. But I know that the majority come from up by the city of Woodland.
And so
Outside of the city though, because the city is
Yeah.
part of the district paying tax.
And that situation doesn't exist in Clickitat County in terms of cities, counties, nor does it exist in
No.
Mania.
No.
Okay.
But the other thing is there are people on maybe the other side of the gorge or in adjacent counties that don't have library services, and they would like to have access to our services. So we can get you that breakdown so you just can understand. I think if I were a non-resident, I might not like this change because it would increase dramatically the amount that we're paying. We also, instead of it being an individual, it's going to a household, just like how your taxes are paid. Any other questions or comments on that at this point? Okay.
And the colleges, college kids, what do they do? Because they may not be a resident of Clickitat County or Clark County, but they are living there as a
Well, if
temporary-
they're living there on a college campus, we consider that their residency and they would
They
be
could
able
get a
to
card.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they have access to their college library and interlibrary loan services.
Right.
Yeah.
There.
But we love the public libraries. I'm just kidding.
Well, and the only other source of that kind of person would be some large recreational areas that people rent.
Yeah.
But for the Skamania County, that's pretty.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
That's not where the majority come from. So
Yeah.
when you see the breakdown, you'll see very quickly that it's,
Makes a lot of sense.
yeah. And then
Makes sense.
the other suggested changes are really to just change where it says cards to accounts. And that's because many of our library account holders are electronic only. They register for access online and they don't ever use the in-person, so they don't get a physical card. They're using their online number only. If you do want a physical card, you have to come into the building and actually finish the registration process and get that. But we have many people that are only online users at this point. And I'm sure they'll appreciate your earlier action.
So I'm out of state, right?
Oh, no.
Within state.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And-
I mean, in our district even.
Having that explanation in print would be helpful, I think, too. Thank you.
Okay. So unless you have any other questions, that would be all on that particular item.
Last thing is the committee assignments. So if you look on the last page, you'll see this year's committee membership. You all received this earlier too, so it shouldn't be a surprise. Are there any questions about this? Did you want to say anything? Okay. All right, I'll start off board comments. I just want to thank Rachel for hosting us tonight. And Julian, thank you for a really well-prepared presentation. Thank you. Any board comments?
I say thanks to Cascade Park. This is my home library branch. I can walk here tonight. And I love this branch so much. When I first moved here to be closer to my family, who also lives around the corner. The library card was the first thing I did in my first week.
Yeah.
And I love this branch. It's beautiful, it's warm and inviting. Everyone's always so nice, and thank you.
I want to say thank you as well. And pulling in tonight, it's kind of, with the big glass windows, it really just gives you exactly how you want to feel about a library. It just looks busy, all kinds of people doing all kinds of stuff. It's dark outside, but it's bright in here. It's a really lovely sight. And it's amazing to see all the work that's being done here. And yeah, thank you.
All right. Our next regular meeting is Tuesday, February 18th at 6 p.m. at Vancouver Community Library and also on Zoom. Is there a motion to adjourn the January 20?
First you do, the meetings on the 21st of February.
Oh,
It's,
I
says
didn't
the
catch the
18th
date. Hold
on
on. So it's the 21st.
Hang on. No, it's the 18th,
It's the 8th.
but it says the 21st on this.
Did I say the 21st?
You said the 18th.
Okay.
It's written as the 21st. So now that we're all clear, it's on Tuesday, February 18th.
At 6 p.m. at Vancouver Community Library and on Zoom.
Right.
Is there a motion to adjourn the January 21st, 2025 meeting?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Hearing no objections, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.